Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Jamie and the Bird. Back once again, like the Renegade Master.
How many times are we going to try and get that in our videos?
I don't know. I love it. I love it. As soon as you say "back once again," the Renegade Master
it just comes through
straight away.
You can't help it. You cannot help it.
You can't help it. We are we're back. We're talking crap. We are sitting here, me and Jay. As always, we're winging it. We've got a kind of script. Well, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
We've got a title. Basically,
that's our script right there. Look, we wrote it in detail.
So, Jay, tell these good people what the point of watching us is today.
Yeah. So this is the second and possibly third, depending on how long we go on for, of our Wisdom at 40 series. Do you remember that? Seems like a long time ago we did that.
Yeah, Jamie is now old. For those people that have missed the previous episode, he is now over 40. He is literally in midlife. We are waiting for the crisis.
I already had it.
Probably. He's already had it.
I had it when I was 25.
I was going to say. He's already had the midlife crisis, just couldn't afford the Porsche.
Exactly. Still can't.
So now Jamie's over the hill. He's had his written down a few of his musings and things that he has learned.
You could almost call it wisdom-ish for everyday people.
You could do.
But why would you? When that's just the title of our channel anyway. I mean, why would you say that?
Or we could just wing it. That could be another. Like, it's actually not the. Well, it's kind of the title. It's actually our two playlists. Anyway, if you're watching this, just to clarify, remember, if you're watching it for the first time, you need to subscribe. If you're not watching it for the first time, comment and like. And also follow us on @JamieandTheBird on the Twitter, the Instagram, and the Facebook. So, anyway, Jay. Now, apart from now you're over 40 and you've learned that hair starts growing really quickly on your ears, inside your nose. And grey hairs start popping up random places around your body. What else? What other thing have you learned?
Well, I think you nailed it. Really, that's the epitome of my wisdom over the years. So we came up with a massive list, and you mentioned this one would be a good thing to talk about because it's quite topical at the moment. I agree, and that is the way I wrote it down was: own what you did or did not do. Do not make excuses.
Right. And what do you mean by that?
I have no clue. I was pissed when I wrote that list. No. Okay. So you and I speak about this a lot, and it's become a bit of a dirty word, or dirty two words, should we say.
I say a lot of dirty words, man.
You do, and mainly with pictures that you send. It's very, very odd.
Actually, there are some manky videos I get sent through in WhatsApp groups, man. But
we won't go into that. We won't go into that.
We'll leave them alone.
So the dirty words that I mentioned about are personal responsibility.
Yep.
People hate hearing that. People think it's a right-wing, buzzword now. It's a reactionary concept. The truth is, it isn't. And I think it's something that we have really lost over however many years now. And I don't know about you, Andy, but in terms of career-wise, I've made a lot of excuses about my failures over the years. But to be fair, the best freedom and the best things for me only really came when I took responsibility for what I had done in terms of my failures and my successes. I didn't try to blame other people. I looked at myself first of all, and we alluded to this in the last video. But I think it's almost like in a weird way, it's almost like it's a superpower. It will kind of almost separate you from other people if you're willing to take responsibility for your actions, what you do or you do not do.
I think a massive thing with this and being a boxing fan, if you're not a boxing fan, then Tyson Fury fought a guy called Deontay Wilder who held one of the boxing belts. Deontay Wilder has been, people have said that he's been ducking the big fights and stuff like that. And he took a fight with Tyson Fury when he had lost something ridiculous, like 10 stone or something like that in the space of a year, thinking that it'd be an easy win. Came a bit unstuck because Tyson Fury is actually a really good boxer. So even as a sort of loose fat man, I thought that he beat him, but they put it as a draw. So anyway, they came back and they had a massive rematch, and Tyson Fury spanked the granny out of him. I mean, he literally made him look like an amateur boxer. Then all of a sudden, like you lose, right? So people lose, and then they go, okay, well, credit to the other man. It was a good fight, and maybe we can have a rematch or something like that. Deontay Wilder didn't. He came out and said, the weight of my costume, it weighed way too much for me, so my legs were weak. Then came out and said that his trainer had spiked his drink. Then came out and said that Tyson Fury had put a gypsy curse on him because Tyson Fury's a gypsy. Then came out and said that he put a weight in his glove when his trainer and everyone had watched him and the governing body. Then came out and said that his Tyson Fury's trainer had pulled his glove down so that his hand was in the sort of sleeve of it, and that was true because his ear was bleeding and he had scratches apparently on the inside of his ear. We all know if you get hit on the ear and you get a perforated eardrum, your ear bleeds, which is what he had. But this is the prime example of that. You lost. Be humble in defeat.
You didn't just lose a little bit. You lost a lot. You got your ass kicked.
Completely and utterly outboxed by this guy. I mean, he made him look tin pot. But this is the whole thing. It's like take responsibility out of it. In terms of how he's going to come back of it, a lot of people say he's finished now because he's blaming everything else. There's nothing there. He sacked his trainer. There's nothing internal that he's looking in with this. Like, what can I do to be better? How do I make myself better so that this doesn't happen again? All of a sudden, it's gypsy curses and, people putting egg weights in gloves and stuff. So from that side of things.
Yeah, no, you're right. I see this all the time, particularly in a work context. Part of my job is to build people up, get them better at what they do. And that's not just from a skills perspective. A lot of it's from a mindset perspective as well. And over the last, 10, however many years, I've worked with so many people that have got loads of talent. They're incredibly talented individuals. And it's the taking responsibility side when stuff goes wrong is the thing that holds them back. It stops them from taking that next step. Because rather than fix the problem, because it's something that you have done or something that you did not do, say you miss an opportunity or something like that, they don't fix the problem. So when they get like an ass kicking from their boss or wherever or whatever, because they're looking externally, they don't think they've done something wrong. So they won't learn to not do that again or to do that thing again next time. It's almost like there's a book by Ryan Holiday called Ego is the Enemy. It's a really, really fantastic book. And he talks a lot about this stuff as well. And it's no matter whether you're piss poor at what you do, and you're a massive failure at what you do, or you're incredibly successful at what you do. The ego, as in they're kind of almost a Freudian concept of the ego, trips you up. That's the bit that stops you from being as good as you could be. Or if you're down here, it will keep you down there. Yeah. The abdication of responsibility is the woe is me, it's everybody else's fault, that you won't change your behaviors, your actions, your thoughts to get to where you need to get to. But if you're here at the top, it can stop you going even higher. But then if you're at the top, though, and you get a massive setback, you'll drop like that, like Deontay Wilder. It's a really good example. He'll drop like that because he's not going to adjust, he's not going to change, he's not going to learn from it.
But this is a whole thing with everyone sees it within successful people that all of a sudden they start to believe in themselves a bit too much. Yeah, like it's almost like a god complex. Like I'm untouchable. I've done it in places where I've got to the top level and been sort of number one, and then thought I was untouchable, and it changed me, and that's so it can work in the negative sense from the bottom, but also at the top end of it as well. And certainly the ego, in both senses, it, like you say, it can keep you down or it will take you down. That's the thing. It can push you forward, of course, if you do truly believe in yourself properly. And there's people like I'm trying to think of names now, but I think it was people like Henry Ford. People told him he was mad in what he was doing. Carried on making the Ford.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So many people didn't make it. They didn't become successful until they were, funnily enough, in their 40s or even later. Like Lincoln was a really good example of this because he was. I saw this thing the other day, X year, following year, and it was failure, until eventually he became president of the United States. From these unbelievable pits where he'd been to get to that.
There's some great stories about him as well, about the way he talked to his staff and stuff like that around the White House, and how he would talk to the cleaner and he would talk to everyone in the same manner. There's also, when you look at old Colonel Sanders as well,
really
fantastic story. Literally a life of failure, non-stop, was completely and utterly on his arse, and then at 75 years old, basically sets up KFC.
Yeah.
At 75. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
But it's just keep on plugging it, keep on going away.
Yeah, it is.
What was the topic we went on this again? I'm forgetting the title, because I feel like we're going...
The title for this one was, oh, bloody hell. Hang on, I have to check. It was, own what you did or didn't do. Don't make excuses.
Don't make excuses. Yeah.
Own what you did or didn't do. Don't make excuses. Part of this problem, Andy, is our understanding and our cultural perception of failure. Yeah? We do everything we can to avoid failure. When we fail at something, we feel humiliated. If we get something wrong, we feel humiliated. When someone in the spotlight does something wrong, are we a forgiving people? Are we hell? We pull them down. We destroy them. We make them look like less than nothing. What's the name? Like the lady who committed suicide, Caroline Flack. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Like she was saying,
Jade Goody, the thing on Jade Goody the other day, and how 1 minute she's okay, the next minute she gets absolutely slated, and it's like, well,
it's brutal, and it's bizarre, because it's probably the most toxic, poisonous way that you can view the world, which is if you look at failure being so bad, and you see someone else fail, and you go ha 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 like that, and put them down. All that does is, when you fail, you fall, you get the same back. And
but some failures are quite funny. Like, if you're watching YouTube vids, a lot of the funniest ones are epic fails.
They are epic fails, but there's humorous epic fails, and then there's
someone's laughing at someone else's demise. But I think, coming back to the title, one of the other things there, flipping onto the positive side of things, is do take responsibility for the good, the stuff that you do. Because I think there's a lot of people, I think you and I included, actually, that you don't actually give yourself enough of a pat on the back for the stuff that you actually do. And when you do get recognised for it, you kind of don't worry about it. And it was someone was saying something the other day. It's like when someone that whole story about the elderly person and what they're like, got to 80 and their tips or something for life, and it was saying in there, like, remember to pay people compliments, but also when someone pays you one, don't be so rude as to ignore it. Always say thank you and accept it. And it's that kind of thing. It's being able to, if you are doing a good job, if you have done something well, to remember to reward yourself and to say well done to yourself. But then also, if someone else says it to you, don't just turn around and look at it as if it's nothing. Like, be grateful that someone's recognised it. And I think that's a very important thing, because it's certainly something I know personally I don't do. I don't give myself enough credit for things I do. And certainly when someone says something like that to me, oh, well done, like that. Don't worry. It actually makes me feel uncomfortable.